Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Season 9, Voices of Photography. Andy Hollingworth is the David Bailey of the comedy world. Name a comedian today and Andy can probably show you an image he has taken of that comedic talent within his portfolio. If he hasn't, then he was too young, but he does have a knowledge for legendary comedians and love for comedy itself, which sparked his collection of museum artifacts, expanding his passion even more. If you are a comedy fan, you will love his story, and I urge you to look up his work, and you will recognise your favourite comedians and comedy shows within Andy Hollingworth's excellent work. We talk of Charlie Williams, Billy Connolly, Laura and Hardy, Bobby Ball, John Richardson, Hugh Hefner, Steve Martin, and Lee Evans, to name a few. And we have to talk about our first project together when Kudos Entertainment and I produced a tribute show for Keith Harrison Orville in 2018 at the Viva Show Bar in Blackpool. Andy kindly took a plethora of backstage and onstage shots, capturing the evening perfectly. Welcome to Eyes and Teeth, Voices of Variety, the voice of comedy photography, Andy Hollingworth.
Hi Steve, how you doing?
I'm really good, thanks. I love your website, by the way. It's just brilliant, especially the page about me. And it's when you click it, you simply get I photograph comedians, and that's all you need to say, isn't it? So you do.
Yeah, I did a show in London a few years ago, and the gallery guy was really insistent I must have a full CV, and I just sent that, and he laughed and he went for it. It's kind of stuck.
It just grabs your attention. It's very clever. It's just one line. That's all you need. No, I really love it. You don't need a biography. It's just there on your website. When you click on it, you look at all your work. Okay, this is what Andy does, and you take pictures of comedians. But it's not as easy as that, is it? It takes a lot of thought, and I'd love to get behind the process of this, Andy. So when you're searching online for you, I actually saw an Andy Hollingsworth who's a physiotherapist, and so that comes up. I think you come up. Yeah, I think you come up first. Yeah, you're a phototherapist, really. It seems like you create therapy through your photos, which captures certain moods of comedians and moments in time when they're taken of that subject. It's like a science, really, of what you're doing, isn't it?
Oh, that's interesting. That's a nice way to look at it. Yeah, cool. Thank you.
What triggered your first love of comedy at that subject of comedians?
Well, this has kind of been well documented through time. My granddad Castle was a bit of a misery guts. And when I was a kid, I was about 6 or 7, the only time when he seemed to laugh was at Charlie Williams. Can you remember Charlie Williams? Oh,
yeah, great comic, yes.
He was a fantastic Yorkshire comedian, black Yorkshire comedian.
Yeah.
And my granddad was a little bit of a racist. And he found it so funny that, because Charlie had this amazing Barnsley accent, and for him to see on The Golden Shot, which was Charlie was very important, not just to comedy, but to black culture in Britain. He was one of the first black British footballers, top-flight footballer, and he was, I think, the first black guy to front the game show, because he did The Golden Shot. And so that's where my granddad used to look at him, and my mum says that I used to watch not Charlie, but my granddad laughing at Charlie. And when I was it's something that I've never forgotten. And when I was in my 20s, I wrote to Charlie, who's then retired, and wrote to him and said, "Can I come and take a picture?" It was really primarily just to come and shake his hand, really.
Yeah.
And so I shook his hand and I took a picture as a souvenir. And then it sort of spiralled from there, really. That's
amazing, because your website's a stunning cavalcade of faces of funny people, and I'd like to talk about sort of how do you choose the subject? Do you choose a comedian that you love, or does it have to be someone you admire, or do you just go for funny people even if you don't think they're funny, or does it have to have a connection?
Well,
controversial.
I first started by writing to people, among the first people I approached were people like Victoria Wood and Rick Mail and Alexis Sale, people that I really loved.
Okay.
As well as the other guys from the comedians, Frank Carson and Roy Walker and people like that.
Nice.
And then gradually it sort of turned the other way around, and agents who got to know me through this guy constantly badgering them, would say, "Oh, well, we like these pictures, would you like to come and do some pictures in the studio?" And so most of my work now is commissioned work.
Okay.
However, I've got lots of projects kind of spiraling around at the moment, and one of them is a big retrospective, and I've been commissioned to choose 10 people who I might not have photographed before. So, which is just wonderful, or people that I have photographed in a different context. So that's really great. Okay. So it's most of it's commissioned work, to answer your question.
Yeah, that's amazing to have that choice, isn't it? If I was given 10 comedians to choose, and basically there was no limit, you would choose. Do you know what I mean? Who would you choose now? Those that you didn't get to photograph, that you wish you'd had, that are not here anymore. Just give me 5 that you would love to have done.
What, you mean people who've died?
Yeah, not pictures of them now, like before they died.
Yeah, good idea. Well, my hero is the Harpo Marx, so I would love to go back and shoot the Marx brothers in their prime.
Wow, yes.
That would be absolutely amazing. Do you know about the museum stuff that I've been doing as well?
I had a little look on your website, and I've seen loads on Facebook, and I love what you're posting, where they're actually artifacts, little pieces from comedians and stage, and all linked to that. I mean, I've got Roy Hudd gave me some. This wouldn't mean much to some people, but as you know, I'm writing a book on ventriloquists, and he gave me some braces to go on trousers, and these braces would not mean anything apart from, someone like me and yourself. Have you heard of Neville King, the ventriloquist?
I have, yeah.
Wow. Neville King and Grandad, incredible ventriloquist, a legend in our art. And Roy Hudd sent me these in the post. He said they were Neville King's. He wore them on TV a lot. And they mean a lot to me. I've got these braces. And so I know what you mean. So you're collecting this sort of similar things.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I was talking about that is because the first thing, I had this London show that I was talking about before, and I wanted to do something really special for it. And obviously Harpo had gone, but I contacted his son, and I said, could I come and photograph some of his things? And so I went over to LA, and we shot his harp and his horn and his wig and his coat and all that sort of stuff. Oh. So that's how that project began, because I came back, and a friend said, Bob Golding said, well, I know somebody who owns a pair of Eric Morecambe's glasses. So I then went to photograph those glasses, and I'm now, I've lost count of how many things. It's easily about 6,000 things. So objects going back to 1840, beautiful. To Grimaldi, all the way up to now. Going back to your original question, I would have loved to photograph people like Tommy Cooper. That would have been amazing.
Eyes and Teeth. Have you ever been to the Water Rats Museum?
I have indeed, yes. I've been incredibly lucky that the Water Rats have allowed me to go a few times and photograph their things. What an amazing place.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you got the Chaplin, all of the music hall entertainers. There's a few. Fred Russell's dummy is in there, and he's godfather of ventriloquists. So yeah, I mean, Charlie Chaplin's cane, and when Jimmy Osmond came into the Water Rats about 4 or 5 years ago, and he actually proposed Charlie Chaplin's spats, which he had in his collection.
Wow!
Yeah, and so now we've got Charlie Chaplin's spats next to his cane. So it's
that's fantastic.
So I love that you've been to the Rats Museum. I was about to invite you, but you've been there, so that's great, because that's one place you need to. I guess you've gone around most of the museums, which is going to be quite key to your project.
Yeah, I've been incredibly lucky that people like the V&A Archive and the British Music Society, who are a wonderful bunch of people, support them, they're fantastic. They've opened up the desk to me and said, well, anything you want. And while I was at the Water Rats Museum, I saw a pair of Little Titch's shoes, and I became fascinated by Little Titch. So I've been shooting his shoes, and we returned his shoes. If you don't know about Little Titch, in 1900 he was probably the highest paid comedian in the world. He was 4'4", and he had 21-inch shoes. And his act was, he did this incredible dance with these shoes. And for 10 years he lived in Paris. He was the toast of Paris. Wow. So Andre Vincent who is also involved with the Water Arts Museum, he lent me a pair of teacher shoes, and we took them back to Paris.
That's incredible.
I managed to get hold of the newspapers from that day. So we made because when he died in Paris, it was front page news. And so we made a full stack of those newspapers, and we humped those around Paris and put them outside his flat and outside the Folies Bergère. We took these shoes, and we just had a really good time. And this is how sad I am, managed to get hold of 1902 street maps. So we worked out the route he would have taken from his flat to the Folies Bergère, and we walked that with these shoes and photographed it along the way. I just get a bit obsessed with things like that.
Man, that's not sad. That is an incredible part of history that you've actually brought back to life in photos, and that is brilliant that you're going into that much detail. I love that. And if you feel like you're connecting with little Titch himself by doing that.
Yeah, it felt really nice, and we actually sent a postcard back to because he was obviously King Rat as well, so we sent a postcard back to the Water Rats to say, hello, it's Harry, and I'm back in Paris, and it was really nice, just so, But he is, the Water Rats to me are, you look back at their history and the links with not only comedy but the show business and variety are fantastic, and it's nice to keep that going. It's lovely. It
is important to keep things like this going, and I've been asked to be a patron of the Max Miller Appreciation Society, and so that's one person that is, that there's an appreciation society, so they don't let you forget these people, which is great. And you're doing the same thing. You're making you're making memories and keeping the archives of these comedians and keeping their memory alive. So important.
Absolutely. I think that for the past 3 years, really, I've focused on photographing tickets, which are the most ephemeral thing. And because stuff like that is thrown away. So go back to 1912, I've got a ticket for the first Royal Command performance, an artist ticket. Wow. But you were talking about Max Miller. I photographed loads of wonderful Max Miller ones in wartime.
No.
So these tickets from 1942 and 1943, and they're lovely. But I print them in my studio, so I photograph them in my studio, so they'll print to like a metre wide, and they have a real residence. And you're talking about keeping that memory alive, and that's hopefully part of it as well. So
yeah, definitely.
I'm loving that.
Well, I love keeping my ticket stubs. Now, if I just make a little list of the ones I've been to, the shows over the last 30 years, if there's something in there that you'd like to photograph, let me know and I'll send them to you.
Fantastic.
But I've literally got a photo album with just ticket stubs. So if you think you're sad, then I'm sad as well, because I think that's brilliant to keep that memory, and I think I gave one away, which was Michael Jackson at Wembley Stadium, because I put it in a scrapbook, and I gave away the scrapbook, and I meant to keep the ticket, but I gave it away. Yeah, and it's those memories, just look at a ticket stub and think, that's where I was that night.
The tickets are also an amazing piece of social history. For somebody like Billy Connolly, I've shot about 80 Billy Connolly tickets.
Wow.
Going back to 1975. But not only do you see the cities where he played, you look at the curve of his career. So the venues get bigger.
Yes.
His first London dates in 1975, they spelled his name wrong because he'd never heard of him. and then he appears on Parkinson, and I've got the Parkinson ticket, and it's massive. And then you see how he goes to New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong. And then you see how his prices go up, and how in Scotland he was charging less because he was this, national hero. And it's very, very interesting. I'm loving that. It's really cool.
No, that is. Now, I saw Billy Connolly when I was 15 or 16. Wow. I was bought these tickets for the Hammersmith Apollo, and I went with a mate of mine. And literally, I went again 4 years ago, same venue, same comedian, Billy Connolly, and I've got both tickets. And because I had to keep them, but they're like 30 years apart. I love that.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've got loads of ticket stubs stories. Yeah, it's not even on my list here, but no, I love that, how it brings. Oh yeah, it was. I went to see the recording of the Two Ronnies sketchbook. The TV show.
Brilliant.
And I've got a ticket stub for that, and that was brilliant. And sadly, we lost him, I think, within the year after that, Ronnie
Yeah.
Barker. But complete legends. I love it. I love what you're doing. You have your own studio as well. Is that where many of the comedians now come to you and they walk through your doors?
Yeah, I think the turning point really was people like Peter Kay, who people used to, as a northern comedian would, start out in Manchester and do that circuit, and then they would move to London. But
Yeah.
Peter Kay seemed to be the first one who said, "Well, I'm not going to move to London." So, and then people like Sarah Millican and Jason Manford also decided to stay, where they lived. So,
Nice.
As a result of that, I rarely go to London now. People like Bill Bailey or, somebody who it's tricky for him to travel on public transport because of, who he is.
Yes.
Most of my stuff is done up here in the north, yeah.
Okay, amazing. And that's, I guess, Ken Dodd started that trend because he's never going to leave Liverpool, was he? He was born in the house.
Never left his mum's house.
He died in the house he was born. It was incredible how that story, spans 90 years. And keep your roots. I love that.
Yeah.
Saying that, I moved out of Basingstoke 20 years ago. I live in Eastbourne now. But I recorded my first DVD there, and that's great.
Yeah, it's nice. And a lot of people have done that. Sarah Millican did that. She went home to Newcastle, and Dave Johns has done that. And that's really lovely. It's right. It feels like the right thing to do.
Eyes and Teeth. How long have you been archiving the images? When did you first start to take that first picture? And do you remember who that first comedian was?
Yeah, well, the first picture of
Charlie Williams.
It was 1995.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
And do you know how many comedians you've archived now?
I don't.
No.
You start stuff and you keep keep a written record and you count things, and I just stopped counting them. Lots of people I've photographed 25, 30 times.
Wow.
Just because of the relationship that we've had, So,
yes. That's brilliant. So they all know you now. So, but you don't just take photographs of comedians. You do live stage sets, so at concerts, live shows, tour photographs backstage, publicity images, DVDs, poster cover shoots, magazine shoots. Is there a genre that you like to stick to? For instance, live on stage, is that your favourite? Trying to get at that perfect picture.
Well, it's nice to do. It's nice to do the variety. A lot of people just stick to studio, but I've always loved doing live things as well.
Okay.
So I don't mind that. I like being on a set of a TV or a film and doing that sort of stuff. I just love comedy, really.
Love your job. It'd just be amazing to be around it all the time because I love comedy. I think this is a time in the last 12 months where everybody has needed comedy more than ever. And I think you look at the Netflix and all of the stats really for people watching sitcoms and stand-up live DVDs. I think it must have gone through the roof in the last year because they're all at home looking for the best thing to cheer them up. So
absolutely. I don't know how. I mean, both you and I have hundreds of friends who are comedians, and I don't know how these guys have coped, and as well as you and everybody involved in performance. I really don't know how you've coped. It's incredible. I can't wait, like you say, to get back and see all these people come to life again.
Yeah. How have you coped, Andy? Because you're out there taking photographs, and there's nothing to photograph in the last year. So have you been at home really dealing on the sort of archiving side of things and trying
definitely.
To put in order?
I mean, the photography for me is just a Sunday hobby. So
right.
I have a day job as well.
Okay.
But I've literally been at home, and I'm really lucky that hundreds of people have sent me things in the post, and I know people who are who own the collections of, for example, Norman Wisdom and people like that, and so those people have sent me things, and I photographed that and sent it back, and just trying to build up this collection really. So I've been quite happy at home, just tinkering away and photographing things as I am today. Next year is the 50th anniversary of the Comedians. The Comedians TV show. It's actually this year, but so I'm trying to photograph all the things that I've got here. I've got tickets and posters and stuff and telegrams and all sorts of things. So we're getting ready for that to celebrate that.
Oh, that's brilliant. I think I've got maybe a 30th anniversary brochure, which is signed by all the comedians. I think that was held in Blackpool. And,
it was. I was there.
Yeah, were you there? That's brilliant. And it's got it's got all of them: Bernard Manning, Frank Carson. They're great comics, aren't they? I love Mick. I've worked with Mick Miller quite a lot as well, and I love him. He's so funny.
He's fantastic. He's a great friend, and he's still very much vibrant and going, and that's fantastic. Mick's wonderful.
Oh, conversational.
Yeah, is there something specific you're looking for in a live still on stage that you can't get from a studio shot? Is there a difference between?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. When you're in the studio, you're in control, and for a long time, for years really, I couldn't really direct in the studio. You just sort of, stand there and hope that things would happen.
Yeah.
But now you're very much directing. But when you're shooting live, it's more like shooting wildlife almost. You have to be patient, move around and wait for that thing. And the excitement of waiting for that moment is fantastic. I love that, which part of the reason why shooting live is so exciting, because you don't really know what's going to happen. Even if you've seen a show 4 times on the tour, there's always a different way of looking at a particular sequence within the show.
Yes, wow. Do you have an image in your mind before you meet a comedian? Is there something that you'd like them to do, or do you just go with the flow? Or if it's a studio
shot? It's a combination
shot?
of both. I keep sketchbooks, and I keep a sketchbook by my bed, and I'm forever scribbling things. If I go to cinema, or if I'm watching the telly, or even reading a book, there are even phrases that will pull an image. There are some films that I watch, I don't know about you, but some films that I watch over and over. David Lean's Great Expectations is an amazing film.
Yeah.
Cinema Paradiso, Amelie, films like that are so full of beautiful imagery, and you see something, you think, I would like to incorporate that, the way that's lit,
okay,
into a picture. But if you call me tomorrow and say, can we do some pictures, we will talk in the weeks going up to the shoot, and I talk to the person, and they bring their pictures and their ideas, and I'll bring my ideas, and I'll do some sketches. But then on the day, you start in a particular place, and then often things go to a different place, and that's part of the fun of it as well. But I think you've got to have a plan.
Yeah.
But you've also got to be prepared to roll with it and see what happens.
Okay, brilliant. So I imagine you're going to be like an octopus when you turn up at Edinburgh Festival. Where the hell do you start? Because it's
the answer is I never go.
Have you never been?
About 3 times.
It's incredible there. You have been there, did you say?
Yeah, I've been about 3 times. My son was at Edinburgh University doing classics, and so I went during those times. But generally, I tend to in the summer stay here and shoot stuff at home.
Okay. I mean, I
love all the people that go there, and I do loads of work for it. I just tend not to go.
I guess you'd be pulled sort of backwards and forwards, and you wouldn't be able to get
it's
any
very
peace.
Much knowing whose show to go to, because you don't really have enough time, and I don't want to upset my friends and say, "Oh, I'm afraid I can't come and see your show because I'm seeing this show," and that sort of stuff. What I'll try and do is often I will try and go and see people in preview.
Okay.
Or if they do a tour of that Edinburgh show afterwards, I'll go and see that as well, which is nice.
Oh, contributional.
In 2018, I hosted a show, co-hosted with Nick Thomas, a brilliant show paying tribute to Keith Harris, Orville.
That's right.
Eyes and Teeth at Viva in Blackpool, a great premiere cabaret venue, but we filled the place, and you very kindly offered your services as photographer, and you got some amazing pictures for us that night.
It was a great night, wasn't it? It was so lovely.
It was fantastic. What I loved that you did, you took everyone backstage and said, can I get some shots of you? You didn't just do stage shots, which were just brilliant, but you got the backstage feel as well. And we got Christopher Biggins, Hacker,
We went up on the roof as well, because that roof, those steps go up, and you're literally across the road from the tower. and it was just amazing. I'm going back, and there's a Bobby Ball show on.
Yes.
So I'm going to try and cover that. So.
Oh, that would be brilliant. Such a great night. And I know that they'll turn out for Bobby. It's going to be sold out, probably over 2 or 3 times if they do it. But I remember on that day, and you come up to me and said, Steve, you need to go up and see the tower, because thankfully I contacted the tower because I know they light it up certain colours for certain events, and
That's right.
I asked if they could turn it green, and they did. So for when people were arriving, the tower was green. And I remember you telling me on the day, you said, Steve, you need to go upstairs and look at the tower. And I needed time out of that venue because I've been there since 8 in the morning until...
It was a mad day for you. It was just bonkers.
Oh, it was crazy. So I remember going on the roof of Viva, going up them stairs, and you've got a great shot of me, I think, going up the stairs. And it was raining, but I didn't care. I just needed to see it. And you went up there, and the big green heart was there, and it was lit. And although it was raining, it was a very poignant moment. But you captured some nice pictures on the roof.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Sometimes you just spy something out of the corner of your eye. And, yeah. Can I tell you my Bobby Ball story?
Yes, please.
I don't know if you've heard this one. In the summertime, last autumn, he was doing Phil Walker's show up at Lytham. He wasn't doing it, but he came backstage, and I'd photographed his braces at his house a couple of years ago, and I hadn't seen him since then. And he came in, and everybody was, hiya Bobby, and Bobby Ball. All these comedians were in their 30s and 40s, so Bobby was an absolute hero. And he came in, and everybody was just so excited to see him. And so he was chatting away, and just as he was finishing and everybody was going back out for the second half, I said, you remember I took those pictures of your braces, Bobby? And he said, I do. I said, they're in good company now. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, I've done this series of pictures, and it's, you know, there's Chaplin's Cane and Tommy Cooper's Fairs and Harpo's Harp and you know, all this. And he said, he just turned and looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, do you know what that means to me? And I said, well, you know, it means a lot to me too, to have you in there. And he said, but you don't understand what that means to a man like me. And he just said thank you, and he turned around and walked out, and that was the last time that I saw him.
Wow, what a moment.
That was a lovely, it was just me and him, just a little quiet moment, and that was really nice. But that was so typical of him. Some people, Bobby still saw himself as somebody who, you know, worked 9 to 5. I think he was a welder or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, hard worker.
He's despite all this amazing success and all this absolute national treasure love that people had for him, he still thought of himself as this bloke who worked in this place 9 to 5. He was so not, but it was smashing. It was just a really nice moment, and that's when you feel that what you're doing has some worth. Just for a little moment like that, smashing.
Definitely, mate. I mean, this would make a great book, photographs, and then those moments you took those photographs. Is this something that maybe in the future for you to write a book about those moments, taking the photographs, or is it just plainly?
Yeah, that would be lovely. Yeah, I mean, I would hope to do like a retrospective book.
Yeah.
Of all the people that I photographed, but it would be nice to do like what I would call a museum book to get all these pictures from all around, these collections and stuff, because not only does it document comedy from 1840 to now, but it also highlights some amazing places that we have here in Britain, you know, like the Wauchops Museum, the Laurel and Hardy Museum up in Ulverston, who've got some amazing things, and the Bilko Museum in Coventry. All these places have got amazing collections, and you should go and support them as well. And so it would be lovely to do that.
Oh, that's amazing. I didn't know some of those existed, you see, so it would be nice to highlight that for people in the business. I really love that fact.
Definitely. And we've got Showtime coming up in Blackpool.
I was just about to talk about Showtown, because they, by the way, I need to go back a little bit. You trumped my my braces story.
Sorry, mate.
I've never told that braces story, and you trumped it with a Bobby Ball. I thought, of course, he's got the most famous braces in the world. And
they are the best, yeah.
There you go. Now, Showtown is an incredible museum coming up 2022. Fingers crossed. They're doing an amazing job, aren't they, up there in that team?
It's very exciting. I met the team a couple of years ago at the V&A.
Yes.
I just happened to be there, and the curator of the theatre collection said, "Oh, you need to meet these people, Andy." So I've been trying to help them get some stuff ready. But it really does sound like a very exciting museum, thoroughly up to date, and I know they've got some amazing objects that are going to be in there as well as all the interactive stuff. It's really exciting.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm involved in doing some of the interactive. There's like a ventriloquist kind of tuition thing, as well as my Simon.
Brilliant.
Yeah, my Simon Cowell puppet is actually in the museum from Britain's Got Talent, and then I don't need it, and so and there's. I wrote that especially for the show, so I was honoured to pass it on. And Simon Cowell's going to be next to Orville the Duck, and then Orville Duck will be next to Archie Andrews. There's a ventriloquist section I'm very proud of. But what they're archiving there is like magic, circus, Strictly Come Dancing. It's going to be incredible, isn't it, for families? And
absolutely.
I think after what's happened recently, I think 2022 is going to be an amazing year for celebration and to everybody coming back again. And that Showtown, the opening night, I can't wait for that.
I'm really excited. I think also that people, it's like last Christmas, people were desperate to keep Panto going and all that sort of stuff as well. So I think you're right. I'm hoping that comedy clubs and tour theatres and Pantos will be absolutely chocker. Let's hope so.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Continuity.
I've looked for your photographs on the website, which people need to do. They're just great pictures, and you capture moments, whether it's in a studio or on stage. And I'm going to start with Tim Vine, if I can. There's a wonderful shot of Tim at City Varieties in Leeds. He's sitting in the theatre, staring up at the stage, laughing. And that tells just a brilliant story, and it kind of makes you want to be there with him. And then there's just a headshot of him where he looks mischievous. I can't say that word. He looks very cheeky in his face, and that tells his story of the work that he brings. So you really do depict these comedians in their best moments.
Well, Tim's great, and I love the fact that his work is so silly. And it's shot through all the way back to, we've talked about people like Max Miller and Tommy Cooper, and you can see that in his stuff. He's so clever.
Yes.
I was delighted to get that pen behind the ear. I don't know if you've seen, there's a little sequence of pen behind the ear.
Yes.
And that was great to get that. And some of his props are just fantastic. That thing with he's got broccoli on his head, and he's coming out of a pound coin. Tim is fantastic, and one of my absolute favourite comedians. He's brilliant. He exhausts me. You go and watch him, and he's just exhausted. 1,000 jokes.
He must be exhausting. Yeah, he usually wins the best joke of Edinburgh Festival, doesn't he? When he's up there.
He's won it a few times. I think best one-liner. Yeah, he's great.
And I love the fact that you can just get a picture of one of his routines by just having a pen behind the ear. That's like a 10-minute routine in his show, and I love it. It's just
20 minutes on a bad night. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. One of the lovely things I've seen of Tim is doing his ventriloquist act, where he's got a dummy that gets another dummy that gets another dummy, and it just goes on and on. He's genius with that comedy. And Ricky Tomlinson, I've worked up at the Green Rooms with Ricky a couple of times. And I've done the Liverpool Empire with him. He's such a warm, approachable guy, isn't he?
He's an absolutely genuine man, and he's done a lot of things very quietly. With regard to charity stuff, it doesn't make a big deal about it. It sounds like doing lots of charity doesn't talk about it, but he really has.
He has. I've heard that.
He's a fine man.
Yeah, one photo that you took of him was his face isn't even in it. It's just a hand crossing over the other hand, and it says Ricky from the royal family. You can see that in the picture, but you've not even got his beard or his face in. From that one photo, you build a story, don't you, from one photo? And do you see that? Do you say, can I just get a picture of your hand like this? And
that was planned because I wanted to, for my museum project, I wanted to shoot his vest because that's the iconic thing from the royal family.
Yes.
So shot his vest and managed to get a very similar TV control later on. There's the same sort of TV remote that they used in the series. So it's all taped together and all that sort of stuff. He's great, as well as being a brilliant sort of comedy actor. He's a fine actor as well. He's been in some incredible things.
He is, isn't he? He really brings that poignancy where he can make you laugh and he can make you cry as well. He is a great actor, Ricky. He's brilliant. One of my moments at his club was one I'll never forget. Was literally just me working and hearing him laughing because he sits at the side of his stage on a chair after he introduces you and he watches your act, and his laugh is so known. Do you know what I mean? It's recognisable, and it's so nice to hear.
It's joy, isn't it? It's like Barry Cry. You could sort of listen to that. You drink it in all day. It's a wonderful thing.
And Tommy Tiernan, the great comic from Ireland, and you just took a picture of a headshot of him, and it invites you into the photographs, so like he wants to tell you one of his stories, and it's just so nice that you can bring to life a comedian's act or their persona in just looking at one of your pictures.
Tommy is one of the greatest storyteller comedians that I know. He's absolutely fantastic, and I hope that he just gets to be more well known in Britain. He's kind of a huge cult comedian, but it'd be lovely for him to be bigger, because I think he's amazing. And in Ireland, he's massive. He's the comedian in Ireland. He's a very clever man, and the way that he tells stories, the way that he uses his voice, and he softens and he goes quiet, and then he attacks. I can watch him all day. He's fantastic.
Well, you can listen to him all day because he's got a great podcast out there. Just look up Tommy Tiernan, and he doesn't have anybody on. He just talks and talks and talks. And if you love his voice and his stories, and he really gives quite a lot in this, and he rants. He rants in his act, and it's just brilliant. It's just him, and you can see that in the photo. I remember seeing John Richardson with the squirrel on the shoulder. You took that picture. That picture's been used everywhere.
Yeah, John's had squirrels in, or as you're talking, I'm trying to keep up on by looking at my website. Yeah, he's had squirrels in for the last few tours, and for the latest one, which I don't think is on there, it's on the recent one, and I managed to borrow a penny farthing bike for the studio, and he went for it, and his designer put a squirrel on a small penny farthing bike falling on behind. So
that's brilliant.
John is great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Do you know what the link is with the squirrel, or is it just because no one else has done it?
The thing that he does on each of his posters. And I know he's got a squirrel picture up at his house. It's just his thing, it's just what he does.
Oh, okay. Well, every morning when I'm washing up or making a cup of tea, we look outside our window. There's nice big trees, and we see squirrels cuddling, chasing, and playing. I'm now just going to think of John Richardson because of that. But imagine him and his wife just playing in the trees. You've got some great names on there. You call it the wacky Steve Martin, and you've got the serious side and the wacky side of Steve Martin. Where did you meet Steve? I think he was touring in the UK, wasn't he, with his band?
Yeah, he was doing a show with the Steep Canyon Rangers, and he'd not been to Britain working. He came last year, I think, or 2 years ago.
With Martin Short, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I just harangued the record company that were doing the show, and he was absolutely lovely. He was so nice. It was the Royal Festival Hall, and I was the only photographer allowed in, and I was expecting to get 2 or 3 minutes, but he spent half an hour with me.
Brilliant.
And went through I had a portfolio book at the time, and he was very kind about my work, and sent an email afterwards, and he was just lovely. Sometimes the absolute biggest stars turn out to be the most lovely and humble people, and that really makes your day. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing to actually find that out, isn't it? They say never meet your heroes, and then when you do, it's a joy sometimes, isn't it? But
yes, definitely. I think you should. I like to, no matter where I am, if I see somebody in the street, not in a restaurant, but if I see somebody in the street, I will always walk across the road and say thank you, and not now, but in non-COVID times, shake a hand, And I think what you should do, you should say thank you,
Yeah, definitely. I remember being in a queue for a nightclub. I got married in Las Vegas, and so me and my wife were in a queue trying to get into this huge nightclub, very popular that night. But there was something going on next door with Hugh Hefner. And I saw this TV crew sort of walking backwards, And then I saw Hugh Hefner, and I just leant out of the queue and just said, "Hey, Hugh." And I shook his hand, and he shook my hand. And I thought, well, it's Hugh Hefner. And then my wife was next to me, and she said, "You just shook his hand." I said, "Yeah." She said, "But you don't know where that's been." Then I realised who he was. Oh dear, yeah. And I did wash my hands when I got in the nightclub, but it's sometimes you just want to. I didn't want to say thank you to Hugh because I don't watch any of his stuff, but it's when I do see people, and I saw Rob Brydon when I went to see Brian Wilson at the Albert Hall, and I just wanted to buy Rob a drink because I love his work, and Nina was embarrassed. She said, "Oh, don't approach him." And so I just said hello to him. But I do shake their hands, and I want to thank people for their work because when you admire someone, it's nice to do that. And sometimes it makes their day, doesn't it?
Genuinely, yeah, absolutely. And I've met people like Billy Bragg at a festival, and you just walking towards you, and you just say, "Can I just say thank you for everything that your work means to me? It's meant so much to me for 30, 40 years, and it's nice."
Wow.
Lovely.
Oh, that is nice.
He just went, "Oh, come here," and he gave me a big hug. And that's just typical Billy Bragg,
Wow, I did this. I went to see the Bare Naked Ladies. I don't know if you know the Canadian band.
Yeah.
A big fan of theirs. I went to see them in Portsmouth, and we done the meet and greet and everything because I am a big fan of those guys. I think they're incredible. And then we went to have some Italian food, and they always, I didn't know this, but they always go and get an Indian meal. So that those guys were next door. But one of them, Kevin Hearn, who's actually one of the vocals and plays the keyboards, he was in our restaurant. We were sat down, and my wife said, "Oh, look, it's Kevin. He's sat over there." And I didn't want to disturb him because he's sat on his own eating his pizza.
Yeah.
And so instead, I acknowledged to the restaurateur. I said, "I want to pay for that guy's meal." So I paid for his food and I left.
Nice.
And I was going to tweet him later and said, "Thank you so much, for the gig." But it was an incredible gig. But I was standing at the back of the room, and he'd walked in after he'd been to the restaurant, and he said, "Did you pay for my meal?" Because he must have seen us leaving. And I didn't think he'd seen me, but I said, "Yeah, I did. I just want to thank you. I love you guys." And he gave me a big hug. So just like,
so nice.
Yeah, just like your Billy Bragg story, and it's just sometimes you want to give something back to them, personally, because it's kind of nice to thank them like that. One guy that's always had time for people, and I met him at stage doors, and I worked at the Palladium once when I was 20 years old. I was an usher, and I worked at stage door. But Lee Evans was doing 2 shows there one night, and I was the runner for him, so I had to knock on the door, check he had water, and see if he needed anything. But he just had so much time for you, even then. And the last time I saw him, he always gives you time, But you've photographed Lee on his tours, and you've done quite a lot with Lee, haven't you?
Yeah, I was very lucky that final tour. Can I just say, I really hope it isn't the final tour.
Me too.
I was really given sort of carte blanche, and I was allowed to come and go as I pleased, which was really lovely. So I did the O2, did Birmingham, did Liverpool, shot his suit before and after a show for the museum. So that was quite something. But from what you were saying, I was there. There was a trend at one point when people were filming DVDs where they would shoot a segment in 3D.
Yes.
So they did part of the afternoon in 3D, and the time was knocking on. And Lee said to the camera operator, he said, "John, have you had your lunch?" And the guy said, "Yeah, it's all right, Lee. We're going to break later." And then he said to another guy, a lighting chap, he said, "Have you had your lunch?" He said, "No, not yet, Lee, but it's okay." And he said, "Right," and he just called the floor man. He said, "Right, we're stopping now." And you could see everybody thinking, "Oh no, this equipment costs so much to hire all these hours." But he made sure that everybody stopped. The crew had their lunch, came back and straight back into it, and that's typical Lee.
Yeah.
He's really kind, lovely guy, genuine bloke.
Yeah, he cares. He really does care.
Yeah.
I was so lucky. I got to work with his dad quite a lot on cruise ships, and I got to know his mum and dad very well. And when I met Lee previously at gigs and chatting and things, his mum and dad were so worried all the time. I said, oh, I went to see Lee last week, and he went, oh, was he nice to you? Was he? Because they just wanted him to always be himself, and be.
Yeah.
And I went, your son is just a joy, he's always got time for you, and he gave up your time, and he is a genuine guy. He loves his work, and he loves the people that come to see. You can see that admiration he has for his audience at the end of the gigs, can't you? You can see that.
The love in the room, even at a huge venue like the O2, the amount of love in the room. He's one of the few people who can pull off a huge gig like that, and at the end bring it all together. And the amount of love in that room is just fantastic.
It is.
I so wish he would do some more.
I do. I know he's writing. He still writes every day, and I know that he's got a writing partner. He's Stuart. They still write, but I just hope it does come to something. It'll be amazing. And you mentioned the suit. There's a great picture of his suit before and after. You can see the sweat in the suit hanging up. That picture just it paints so many sort of images in your mind of Lee Evans running around. It's such a great idea to get the suit.
When I first started, I wrote a list of about 20 things, and Lee Evans' suit was right up there, and Tommy's fairs and stuff like that. So
wow,
it was nice. It was nice to be given access to.
Yeah, definitely. There's a really nice image of him actually just looking at his notes before he goes on as well. I love that.
That's one of my favourite pictures, because he doesn't actually know that I'm there, and even now, even being the person that he is, he gets so nervous.
He does, doesn't he?
He told me afterwards, and he sort of gave me the thumbs up, so he knew that I'd taken it. But I really do love that picture, and it's. I don't know if have you ever played the O2? Have you been backstage at the O2?
The biggest I've done is the Albert Hall, but I don't know if I'd.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like to do the O2. I don't think. I mean, the people in the front row wouldn't see my lips move. It's so big, isn't it?
Yeah, that's different for a band. But they construct off the Kirby's agents construct this huge stage, and then they create a little quiet place, which is. You can see the steps up to the stage beside it, so he's right at the front. Right. But Lee is completely in his own bubble there. And it's 5 minutes before. Very nervous, pacing up and down. And there's another shot of him in Birmingham where he's pacing up and down by a forklift truck backstage. The amount of nerves, he still gets all that sort of feeling, and that's what drives people on. It becomes part of the process. Yeah,
definitely. I remember in '95 at the Palladium that day I was running for him, and he was, Steve, I'm so nervous, and he was pacing up and down the dressing room saying, I can't believe I'm at the Palladium tonight. It was the first time he'd done it, and he was doing 2 shows that day. His mum and dad were in the audience. I watched both the shows. He done a little line actually for me. He picked up a little box that was on a stool next to his glass of water, and he just went. He just done a little bit of ventriloquism, and he went, "That's for you, Steve." A little bit of man in the box, yeah. Rob's funny as well, isn't he? I mean, they're all funny. You really do bring to the audience. You bring just pure joy with your photographs, and I will send as many people as I can to your website to have a look, because it's something that people have to see, and it'd be nice if it turns into a book and goes further. But a documentary on your work on television has to happen, and I really hope it does.
That'd be cool.
It's amazing. So, Andy, thank you so much for talking to me today on Eyes and Teeth.
It's a pleasure.
It's been amazing to hear your stories, and I hope one day I can book you to come and do one of my tours. It would be amazing.
That would be great. That would be lovely.
I got a new show on the road, fingers crossed, and so that would be amazing. I'll make sure I'm up in your area, and I'll give you a bell.
That'd be great. You said that you were doing a thing on a book on ventriloquism.
Yes.
Do you know about the Archie Andrews photos?
Oh, what subject is this?
Well, I took Archie Andrews back to the BBC for the first time in 60 years.
Oh, brilliant.
To Broadcasting House.
Yeah, did you know the history with me and Archie?
Didn't you take the puppet on tour?
There was this whole thing when Colin bought the dummy that they needed a voice, so I went on Newsnight when I got the job to do the voice, and then they were trying to get a show on the road, and it wasn't really happening because he couldn't get the backing, so I said to him, Colin, I'd love to be involved in the Archie thing, but nothing's happening. Can we just write the thing together? We co-wrote this re-educating Archie, and we took the real Archie on stage. We've done 3 shows in Eastbourne, and it sold out, but sadly nobody picked it up, and you do need big funding for a show like that. And it was, and funny enough, Dave Evans was on the bill, Lee's dad, and he played a couple of characters for me, Harry Seacombe and Max Bygraves. It's such a great variety show.
There's a film in it, because if you think about Hancock and, as you say, Seacombe and Beryl Reid and all those careers, Julie Andrews, all those careers that it started.
Yeah.
And the actual story of when the day his dad died, it goes back on the wardrobe and all that sort of stuff. It's an incredible story.
It's a great story, and I got to use him on Chroma Pier, and Archie Andrews, the dummy, actually, because of him, I got to meet Roger Lloyd Pack from Money Falls and John Major. They come because they heard me talking on the radio saying I'm doing Archie Andrews on the end of the pier, and they actually came to see the show. It was mind-blowing what that little dummy actually brought to the nation, back in the 50s. But yeah, you're right. It will make a great biopic. It's brilliant.
Have you heard the Rob Brydon radio show?
Yes, isn't that brilliant?
Oh God, yeah. It's quite strange, but brilliant. Yeah.
It was strange because it's quite a sad story with Peter's first wife. She had a few mental problems, didn't she? But it's quite sad. I mean, she lived with a dummy in the house. I'm worried about my wife, to be honest. My wife's used to it now. Andy, thank you so much.
Pleasure. See you soon, mate.
Eyes and Teeth. That was such a fascinating and brilliant chat, and I hope you loved it too. Please go to www.andyhollingworth.com. Andy Hollingworth on Facebook and at ANDHOL and Hull on Twitter. Today's comedy quote comes from Charlie Williams. Because I make jokes, it does not mean I'm willing to be walked over. I'm not saying that problems should be ignored. The great thing about this country is that justified complaints can be heard and get some action. Thanks, Charlie. Eyes and Teeth is written, produced and hosted by Steve Hewlett. Vocals by Larissa, Lola and Nina Hewlett. Additional vocals by Rich T. The Eyes and Teeth music and jingles are produced and performed by Kevin Dean. Join me next time on Eyes and Teeth Voices of Variety, where we enjoy the many voices of Britain's Got Talent and longtime friend on the circuit, Paul Berlin.